Hi guys, James at Rampant Lion Reviews again for you today with another beer review. For this one, we are going to stick to Japan and we're going to return to a brewery that has now featured on the channel a couple of times before. Now, these guys are still kind of a relatively new addition to the Japanese craft beer scene for most people. It's only quite recently that they've got their beers out there a little bit more and across the country, but this brewery has actually been going for a good couple of years. They've done a variety of different styles of beer, and the stuff that I've tried from them has been pretty damn good actually. So if you get the chance to try some of their beers, then I highly recommend that you do. Now, the beer that we're going to have a look at today is a sub-style that I haven't tried from this brewery before. It's a sub-style that I always used to really enjoy as well, but one that you don't often see all that often these days. And it's a bit of a special beer for these guys too. So a couple of reasons there that made me want to try this one. So needless to say, I'm very curious to see what this one is going to have in store for us. Hopefully it's another good beer. Hopefully it makes for an interesting review, and as always, I hope that you guys watching enjoy my take on this one as well. So yeah, for this review then, we are going to head a bit north of me here in Osaka up to Tokyo Prefecture. We're going to go out to the northwestish of the city to a little place called Okutama, and that means that we're going to have a look at another beer from the wonderful Vertere. So this particular beer is called the 8th Anniversary Red IPA. It comes in at 8% ABV, and I think from the name you know what style this one is. But at 8% ABV, this one should probably be called a Red Double IPA or a Red Imperial IPA, something like that. But apparently this beer is based on one of the first recipes that this brewery did when they were simply like a little brewery and taproom type deal. So yeah, I thought this would be very interesting. I'm a huge fan of red IPAs, but like I say, you just don't come across them all that often anymore, unfortunately. So yeah, let's crack on with this one then and see what it has in store for us. My third review from Vertere, if memory serves me correctly, and hopefully this one carries on in the same vein as the others we've had from them previously. So yeah, as always with my reviews then, I'll tell you a little bit about the brewery before we taste the beer. If you want to get straight to the tasting though, just fast forward. All the usual links can be found in the video description below. That's the brewery website, the link to my other reviews that I've done from Vertere before, and we will no doubt add more to that list at some point in the near future. But there's all the usual social media down there. If you want to see more reviews, do please consider subscribing to the channel. The support that you give is massively appreciated. And remember, you can go into the channel homepage and search for beer using the geography tagging system. So just go in there, use the little search bar, put in your hometown, state, county, province, prefecture, whatever you like. If I've reviewed beers from the area that you search for, they will pop up. Failing that though, you can check out the playlist of beers from different countries. You'll find this one in the Japanese playlist along with a number of other things, and that is being added to quite regularly over the next little while, and it will continue to be added to quite a lot over the coming years because it will be based out in Asia for a little while. But yeah, let's crack on and tell you a little bit about Vertere once again then. So on to my brewery notes. So Vertere, as I've mentioned to you already, are based in the city of Okutama, which is in the west of Tokyo Prefecture, about 1.5 hours by train from central Tokyo. So the two men behind this company are Hikaru Suzuki and Kage Tsujinogi, who is the brewer. So apparently the two had dreamed of starting a company together since they were high school compatriots. But Kage worked in a brew pub called Koenji and then spent 3 years learning to brew and perfecting his own recipes. But once they got started together, they started in a 70-year-old traditional house which is about 30 seconds from the front of Okutama Station. And apparently it took them over 6 months to renovate this house and get it ready to host the restaurant and brewery. So they started off with only 3 taps back in 2015, but they soon upgraded the system to 10, and all of these are now occupied by their own beers. So the brewing takes place in a small hut of about 7.5 square meters behind the restaurant and bar counter, and at the moment they have 2 brew kits. There's one 500 litre brew kit and one 1,000 litre brew kit, and they've gradually expanded their fermentation capacity over the years. But in 2018, they started cultivating their own hops in a field about 20 minutes drive away from the house, and they've been working to build up their harvest every year, and they've been quite successful with that from what I understand. But more recently, they started canning their beers in 2019, and the first cans were released in September of that year. Over the last little while, they've been building up their fermentation capacity and working on their distribution and things like that, and just getting their beers out there and across the country. As of February 2024, when I'm filming this review for you, these guys have produced 100 different kinds of beer according to Untappd, and they have done quite a variety of different styles as well. But it's mainly like, you know, pale ales, different kinds of IPAs. I've seen red IPAs, hazy IPAs, sour IPAs, and things like that from these guys. But a very interesting brewery, and one that is very highly rated in Japan at the moment. So like I said, if you get the chance to try some of their beers, then I highly recommend that you do. This was one of two that they released for their 8th anniversary. I think the other one was a sour IPA, but of course the red IPA was the one that caught my eye, because you don't see these all that often. But yeah, that is everything I can tell you about Vertere for the moment. If you want to learn a bit more about these guys, you can of course check out the brewery website. You can follow them on Facebook and Instagram to keep up to date with all the latest goings on. You can check out the Rate Beer, Untappd and Beer Advocate pages as well to learn a little bit more about all the different beers that these guys have done. And hopefully at some stage I can get up to Tokyo and head out to Okutama and visit the brewery and make a little out and about video. That would definitely be a very nice video to film. So we'll keep our eyes peeled for an opportunity to do that, and hopefully we can make it happen. But yeah, let's go on and actually have a little look at the beer itself. So just a little quick note on this beer. The only information I could really find about this one is that it's hopped with Comet, Mosaic and Strata. Comet is a hop that is kind of growing in popularity once again. It's one of the more old school American hops, about 12% alpha acid. It gives you quite a lot of grapefruit and also quite a lot of oily orange. Mosaic we know quite well, of course, 14% alpha acid and American, and it gives you that lovely kind of big juicy tangerine quality. And then Strata is another American hop. I think that's about 14% alpha acid, and it always gives you this kind of like strawberry type note from what I remember. Strata is a very, very interesting one. But like I said earlier, this beer is based on a recipe from the brewery's very early days, actually. One of the very early recipes that this brewery put out there. And of course, because it's their 8th anniversary, they've amped it up and yeah, they've amped it up and put it to 8% for obvious reasons. So more power to them. But yeah, it really should be called a red double IPA or a red Imperial IPA. That's me nitpicking though. This one is a half-litre can, and it's yet another beer that I picked up at Liquor Shop Asahiya in Taishibashi Maichi here in Osaka, who always have a great selection of Japanese beer. So do go and visit them. I'll put the link to their Facebook page in the video description below. If memory serves me correctly, I think this one cost me about 1,300 Japanese yen, which is in the region of about you know, maybe £7 sterling. So that means it's about €8, about €8, 70 Hong Kong dollars. Yeah, about, you know, 85 Swedish krona, something like that, for those of you watching in different places. But yeah, let's get it out into the glass and see what it's all about. The 8th anniversary red IPA from Vertere in Okutama, Tokyo Prefecture, here in Japan. A beer that I have been very much looking forward to trying. So let's do this. I have to say, the colour of this one looks absolutely lovely. So there we go. Now it didn't actually say what malts and things they had used in this one, but I will say that looks pretty damn dark actually. It looks very, very nice. Yeah, I did a little Google of this one beforehand just to see if I could find any more than the hops and things like that, but yeah, unfortunately no further information. But as you can see with this beer, I think I've poured about 80% of it out into the glass. It's poured with about a 2/3 finger of a frothy, I would say kind of light fawn, beigey coloured head, 1 or 2 big bubbles sitting on the surface of the liquid there, and a few fluffier ones just going up toward the bottom of the head. But overall, it does look very, very nice. One or two big bubbles sticking toward the side of the glass, a few little ones going up toward the bottom of the head there. If we shine the light through this beer, it is actually crystal clear, which is not what I was expecting, but yeah, crystal clear beer, this one, which is kind of cool. Yeah, really looks very nice. In terms of the colour, I would say that this one, it really does have a very kind of deep ruby colour to it, but I think to you guys it's appearing like a very dark sort of chestnutty type colour. But remember, the colour of your beer depends on a few things. One, the type of malts that you use, that goes a long way to determining your EBC rating. Two, length of your wort boil is also going to play a role, because the longer you boil the wort, the more the sugars caramelise, and thus you get a darker colour of beer. But any barrel aging that you do or adjuncts that you put into the beer will affect its colour as well. When it comes to different kinds of IPAs, though, you don't often have to care about the adjuncts and the and barrel aging and things like that. It usually is the type of malts and the length of wort boil. Going by the colour of this one, I think it's maybe got a slightly longer wort boil. Usually the average for IPAs is about 90 minutes, but yeah, this might well have been allowed to go a little bit longer. But yeah, appearance wise, this is kind of what you would expect from a red IPA, but certainly the colour this one indicates it's a wee bit boozier, and it's maybe had a little bit of a longer wort boil. So yeah, let's have a closer look at the aroma of this one and see how we go. And I think we've said everything we need to about the appearance of this beer. Oh yeah, that does smell very, very nice. Yeah, this one comes across as being quite old school. I think it's going to have a good little bit of bitterness to it, but lovely big kind of oily, fruity characteristics. Proper old school hops in this one, even though Strata is a bit more of a kind of modern hop, I would say. But the Comet and the Mosaic are really giving you that feel. Lovely juicy fruity notes, big maltiness as well. For me, one of the reasons I like red IPAs is that kind of bigger, bready, malty character. But yeah, it has everything I would want from the style. One of my favourite beers I ever had actually in this particular category was called First Blood, and that was from 8 Wired Brewing Company down in New Zealand, and it was just beautiful. So I'm hoping that this one, this one's giving me kind of similar vibes to the aroma from that as that beer did. But yeah, let's just break the aroma of this one down a wee bit and describe it for you a bit more in depth, because I think this is going to be good. It's beautiful. So, aroma-wise, the backbone of this beer, you've got a lovely little bit of a kind of fresh, you've got a lovely little bit of a kind of fresh rye bready bread crust coming out of this one. There's a good little bit of, there's a good little bit of kind of woodiness coming out of the beer as well. So fresh rye bready bread crust, woodiness in there. Sweet rye bread, of course, it does come across like a German rye bread. It would not surprise me if this has got like a little bit of Munich and caramel and things like that in it. Really comes across, maybe even a little bit of Vienna, come to think of it too. But at the same time, some of the sweetness I'm getting out of this, the American Turo also would not surprise me, because it's got a wee bit of that more kind of biscuity and oily note to it as well. Because I think European malts tend to just be that little bit drier than American ones. I'd be very curious to know what the malt base of this one is. But yeah, rye bready bread crust, a little bit of woodiness, a little bit of cracker almost as well in this, which I think is great. But yeah, sweet rye bread, wholemeal brown bread, and a lot of brown sugar in this one. So there's definitely like a kind of straight up oily, sweet caramel. Kind of oily, sweet caramel in there. Oily and sweet caramel. McVitie's digestive biscuit for sure. It's got a slightly toasted character to it as well. One of the things with these IPAs as well, usually if they've had a slightly longer wort boil, you can tell, because you get those more leathery, chewy kind of brown sugars. But other than that, the way that this, other than that, the way this one goes together, I would say that it's actually more kind of sweet and oily. I don't think this has had too long a wort boil, just going by that. There are one or two little nutty notes come out of this beer, the more that you smell of it too, but it smells lovely. I really do like this. Yeah, interesting stuff. I don't know if we really need to say much more about the malty side of things on this one. I think we've covered it quite well. It's just lovely, big, sweet, brown, rye bready type characters, of course. But yeah, on the yeah, on the hoppy side of things, then let's look at that. This one's quite interesting because it doesn't come across as if it's going to be like madly bitter and things like that, but I think it might surprise us when we actually taste this. And you have to remember, when it comes to IPAs, you have three types of hopping. You've got early edition hopping, which takes place during the first hour of the wort boil. That gives you mainly bitterness and also a deep dank aroma in the green component. You've got late edition hopping, which gives you a little bit of bitterness, but mainly flavour and aroma, and that gives you quite a bright green component. Then you've got dry hopping, which takes place after the wort boil is complete, and that gives you mainly you know, it gives you pretty much all flavour and aroma, but it gives you mainly a kind of brighter green component. And this beer doesn't give you that kind of deep dank character that you might expect actually, but this one, some of the mosaic that's used in this is cryo, which might explain some of the juiciness that you get out of this. But yeah, there's a little touch of earthiness to the green component there. That's going to come from the mosaic. You do have a little bit of that kind of, you've got quite a lot of floral character to this one, but it's quite a wet floral note. You've also got some nice bright grassiness too. Again, cryo notes, I think. Yeah, floral aromaticity, bit of nice grass. Then you've got some lovely orangey, oily notes coming out of this. It's the fruity character's lovely, I have to say. So yeah, yeah, big oily zesty orange in there from the Comet. You do get a little bit of a grapefruit. If I was, you know, guessing what this beer had in it blind, I would have thought Cascade, because I am getting little bits of that kind of sultana, grapefruity sort of thing that you would get from Cascade. So yeah, a little bit of grapefruit, bit of sultana, lovely big kind of oily orange. Yeah, big oily orange, brighter tangerine as well, definitely. I'm also getting some of that kind of strawberry note and a little bit like gooseberry lychee type thing, and that's the strata that's going to give you that. So there is a wee bit of that red fruity character just coming out of this one. So yeah, I really like how this goes together, and it gets a big thumbs up from me. This is lovely, lovely smelling beer. Yeah, beautiful stuff. I'm really looking forward to this. As I always say though, take a bit of time to just enjoy the aroma of the beer before you get stuck into it. That's always half the experience when it comes to craft beer. So yeah, let's do this. This one is the 8th anniversary red IPA, coming in at 8% ABV from Vertere in Okutama, Tokyo Prefecture, here in Japan. Looking forward to this. Let's get stuck in. Happy 8th anniversary to Vertere. I'm sure they'll have many more anniversaries to come. Slàinte, skål, cheers, kampai. Ooh, that's nice. That is nice. First impression, it's definitely like a kind of modern take on the red IPA as a style. I think, yeah, there's the perfect pour there. Yeah, it's definitely like a very modern take on the red IPA style. But in fairness, when I say modern take, it has, you know, the slightly lower bitterness, I think. But in fairness, some of the bitterness does build up the further into the aftertaste that you go, and that's quite interesting in itself with this beer. Yeah, that, I really do like how that kind of pieces together with this one. Yeah, you get more and more bitterness out of this the further into the aftertaste you go. You've got the lovely big juicy fruitiness as you expect. Then you have that more kind of grainy, yeah, you have that more kind of grainy Malt, yeah, you've got that more kind of grainy and still sweet and oily malt bill coming out of this one. I really do like that, actually. So yeah, right, where do we go with this one then? For me, we'll start in the middle with the middle third of the palate, as we always do. So, middle third of your tongue then, you've got that lovely, slightly roasty toasty. It really is kind of roasty toasty. You get a nice little bit of a roasty toasty background with this one. You get that a little bit of that roasty toasty, well fired kind of bread crust, and that lingers out into the aftertaste. You do get a little bit of that coming out of this one. It's not quite black right enough, but it does feel as if your bread crusty character, the rye bready character's got a little bit of roasty toastiness to it. So yeah, on top of the kind of rye bready backbone, further forward on that, further forward on that middle third of your palate, you get a nice little bit of a kind of woodiness coming out there. That gives you a wee bit of dryness into the aftertaste, which I do like. There's almost a little bit of nuttiness kind of blended into that too. But then yeah, above that kind of bread crusty and woody layer, you start to get the bready notes. So there's a layer of quite light but still quite airy sweet rye bread. So yeah, nice kind of sweet rye bread coming out of this one. And then above that, you get a more kind of wholemeal, brown bready type character in there as well. It takes a wee bit of time for that bready flavour to just evolve out of the beer. And that's one of the reasons why I like doing these slightly longer beer videos, because, you know, it takes a bit of time for some of these flavours to kind of show themselves, if you like. And that's really what's going on with this one. So yeah, rye bready layer, sweet kind of wholemeal brown bready layer. Then above that, you start to get the brown sugar. So you've got a layer of a kind of toasty brown sugar coming out of this one. Then you've got a kind of circle in the middle of your palate, which is really nice. So you can feel in the dead centre of your tongue, you've got that big, boozy, oily, brown sugary character coming out of the beer. So yeah, big, oily, boozy, brown sugary note sitting there in the middle of the beer. Like a little bit of almost treacly or molasses-like. But as you move further out from that toward the extremities of that middle third of your palate, yeah, you get a little bit of sweet caramel. You get a little bit of a sweeter caramel. There's almost a little bit of a slightly fudgy type note in there as well. And then yeah, as you reach the extremities of that middle third of your palate, you do get a wee bit more of a kind of McVitie's digestive biscuity type note coming out of this one as well, and that all sits on top of that more kind of toasty character as well. Yeah, the way that goes together, I think, is the way that goes together is really, really nice. Yeah. On the I think that's everything we really need to say about that middle third of the palate, to be honest with you. So let's go to the back third of your palate then. So at the border region between middle and back third of your palate, you get a nice little bit of bready build up in there. So you can feel the rye bread in the base and the brown bread sitting on top of that. And as you go into the back third of the palate, as I often say, the back third of your palate will give you similar flavours to the middle third of your palate, just a little bit drier and sometimes a bit more bitter. So yeah, you can feel you've got that roasty toasty bread crust that I was talking about in the base, but it just feels that little bit more roasty and dry. You've got the rye bready layer, which feels a little bit lighter and more airy. Then you've got the kind of wholemeal brown bread sitting above that, which again feels a little bit lighter and more airy. And then above that, you can just feel there's a little bit of a kind of graininess there, which is interesting. It's just a little bit of an almost, again, it's almost like a kind of bread crusty layer, but then above everything else, you start to get the yeasty notes, those lighter and more airy yeasty notes coming out of the beer. So yeah, more lighter, yeasty kind of character that comes out of this beer is pretty interesting as well. So yeah, you have that you have that kind of, you've got, on the yeasty side of things, you've got a more dense and sweet brown bready character in the middle. Then you've got a little bit of an almost more woody, lighter, more airy wholemeal brown bready character around that, and then it's just a little bit like almost toasty bread crusty around the edge. But yeah, all those yeasty notes sit on top of everything else on the back third of your palate, and you can certainly feel that that flavour is just taller. Then as you come further forward into the middle third of your palate, it just kind of condenses down and squashes together that little bit more. But it is, as I say, very, very nicely done. So it gets a big thumbs up from me. Yeah. On the the malty and yeasty side of things, I think that's everything we need to say. So let's go to the hoppy side of the beer then. Back corners of your palate, definitely a good little bit of earthiness to this one. And I do get the feeling, I think there has been quite a little bit of early edition hop in this beer. It does, the more that you drink of it, it does give you a little bit of that more kind of West Coast type bitterness. So yeah, there's a wee bit of earthiness in there. As you move further forward, you do start to get a little bit of piney resin sitting underneath, which is quite interesting. So yeah, earthiness, piney resin, and as you push further and further forward, it really has got a nice kind of floral, spicy aromaticity coming out of it. So yeah, I like how that pieces together for sure. So yeah, nice kind of floral aromaticity. Little bit of floral aromaticity, nice little bit of spiciness there. Then round the front curve of the tongue, you've got a little bit of a lighter, more grassy sort of thing coming out of this one too. And you do get a wee bit more oiliness, as I say, out of this green component, mainly I think because of the use of the cryo in this one. But yeah, I do like, as I say, I do like how this one kind of all pieces together. But yeah, I think that covers everything we need to about the green component. But yeah, a wee bit of a lingering bitterness into the aftertaste. In terms of the front third of your palate then with this one, so the border region between front third and middle third of your palate, again you get a little bit of bright bready build up in there. Rye bread in the base, the white, the wholemeal brown bread in the top, the base of that front third of your palate, rye bread crust again, sweet brown bread, and then above that you get that nice oily bubble where those juicy fruity esters just roll their way out of the beer. So yeah, let's have a wee look at those that fruity side of things. So yeah, for me, the fruity side of things is good. I have at the back of that front third of your palate, definitely some grapefruit, which is going to be the Comet all the way. So yeah, good little bit of that stronger grapefruit sitting there. As you move further forward from that, strong grapefruit. Yeah, strong grapefruit at the back, and as you move further forward, you just get more and more orange out of this. You get that big oily orange that you would get from Comet anyway, and then you get the lighter kind of tangerine from the Mosaic, and then as you push further forward toward the front tip of your tongue, you get a little bit of that kind of like gooseberry, lychee type thing, and then the kind of juicy strawberry as well. Yeah, the way that Strata does that is always quite interesting, just that kind of strawberry-ish note that it gives you, and that juicy strawberry with the wee bit of gooseberry and lychee underneath it just lingers there into the aftertaste. But yeah, strong grapefruit and also that nice big oily orange in there. So yeah, that's the thing that's interesting about this beer, is the use of the Strata hop. I think this is maybe the first red IPA that I've had that's had strata in it. I don't know about Comet, but definitely I've had Mosaic and Amarillo and those kind of orangey hops in this beer style before, but pardon me, it certainly does work very, very well. Yeah, good stuff. I like this for sure. Big thumbs up from me. Not quite as sweet as some of the red IPAs that I've had before, but I think it's really nicely balanced, this one. I enjoy an Imperial Red, and this one certainly hasn't disappointed me at all. I think this is good. I think it'd be a bit of a shame if they only brewed this beer once for the 8th anniversary. I would hope that they do this one again, because it's pretty damn solid actually. Let's round off this review then with a wee look at the mouthfeel. So yeah, mouthfeel wise, for me, this beer is, I'd say pushing top end of mid-bodied, bottom end of full-bodied. Carbonation is very smooth. It does have a little bit of a prickle to it, but not much. Good little touch of oiliness to it, which I think is nice. In terms of the IBUs, it does build in its bitterness the more that you drink of it. I think 70 or 80 IBUs wouldn't be out of the question. I'm more inclined to say 70-ish. It doesn't feel like it's a big 80, 90, 100 IBU beer. It just doesn't feel like that. But the malt, as we said, bit of dryness and toastness in the base, smoothness in the middle, and then sweetness on top with those brown sugary notes. But the bread has a wee bit of sweetness to it as well. Lovely big oily juicy fruits, grapefruit, orange, little bit of like gooseberry and strawberry in there as well. Just an all-round really, really nice beer, this one, and another very, very solid effort from Vertere. So yeah, the 8th anniversary red IPA from these guys, definitely worth trying. And I would say to Vertere, don't just do this as a one-off. Try and do this like at least, once a year or something like that. That would make a really nice kind of winter IPA. If you release this as a kind of winter IPA every year, that would be a good place to have this, something a little bit more malty and things. But yeah, good old school Imperial Red, this one. Not quite as bitter and with slightly more modern hops than you would have got from this style back in the day, but really damn good, this one. So massive thumbs up to Vertere for this beer. Yeah, let's leave it at that. Once again, thank you for watching my beer reviews. Until the next time, please like, subscribe, share, all the usual YouTube stuff. Let me know your own thoughts on this beer in the comments section below. Let me know what your favourite beers are from Vertere as well, and we will see about returning to these guys again very, very soon. But yeah, this was the 8th anniversary red IPA coming in at 8% ABV. Really nicely done, and I certainly wouldn't hesitate to drink it again. Slàinte, Scott, cheers, Campai. Check out my social media, check out Vertere's social media, and hopefully we can feature these guys on an out and about video very, very soon. Ciao just now.